Hello, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever the blimmin' you are. We're back, and it's round 2 of 19 of shenanigans on F1 2014, courtesy of Codemasters. And as ever, Giuseppe and Esteben is here. How you doing?
Buenos dias. Doing good, sober this time, so that's an improvement. And not completely exhausted, so that also is an improvement, depending on where you stand.
Well, at least you was exhausted through alcohol abuse. So
Precisely, and it's the best kind of abuse.
that is, apart from maybe some dungeon ones, but it's that maybe for another podcast another time. So we'd had one round of F1 2014 at Australia, and apologies to all Australians with that comment. We quite liked F1 2014. It seemed to surpass some of our expectations, which were dreadfully low.
They were incredibly low. I mean, I was really expecting a skin pack, a model pack, and that was about it. I wasn't even sure they bothered to record the noises, given that we expect this to have a 6-month lifespan. I'd sort of think, nah, what's the point? But not Codemasters. They did all right.
All right on their tiny team of Tommy tanks. That's not what I was going to say. Yeah, I know what I mean. It's because I knew one of the QAs, so I was playing this on the PS3 version, which is, I must say, locked at 30 frames per second, and you really notice a difference jumping from the PC to the console versions. So definitely PC gets a thumbs up over the console for me. And I noticed his name come up in lights, and I was like, I've taken a screenshot. I have to send it to him in a sec. That's why I was going on the name of Tommy Tanks.
Okay, I thought you were using Cockney rhyming slang to send me some sort of message.
Tommy Tanks describes my driving style. Should we dive in?
Yeah, shall we demonstrate that?
So you've been playing around with it a little bit more on the PC version than what I have so far. Have you noticed anything different compared to where we were 1 hour post-launch?
A little bit. I was on a little bit this morning, and it felt like I was getting less silky performance than I was initially, but I don't think there's been any additional file downloads, so I can't explain it. It may have been that I just needed to restart, so I did. But I'm still very much enjoying the improved race AI. That, for me, just makes this game worth buying. That alone, I think. Mm-hmm. Aside from that, yeah, nothing major to report. No serious bugs. Some people have said to me that they believe that the crashing we were seeing may actually have been due to some bugs, guys getting stuck on barriers and the like. I'm not entirely convinced. I think we need to take a closer look at it as we career around pretending that we know what we're doing, and it shall all be revealed in due course. Oh, dry. I was hoping for a bit of rain in Malaysia so we could repeat last year's shenanigans. Yeah, that's going to be the word of the episode, isn't it?
It is. And actually, if you go into the scenarios and the time trials, I believe the Malaysian one is on intermediates. So it was as if they were channeling our inner needs.
So something that's happened that is quite odd is my game sound has stopped.
Oh.
So that's interesting. And what I'm about to do is what I did last year to very little effect. I am going to stay in pits just a little bit longer than normal, and I'm going to fool around with the setup system and go non-default, because I am not a default sort of individual.
No, you are anything but default.
No. I'm a faulty sort of individual. And we'll see. If this works, I will share it with the world.
Ooh.
When it inevitably doesn't work, then I will do what you should always do when you make a balls up and hide it. Don't admit it. Only an idiot would admit it.
You should become a politician for that.
But I have been told that.
Takes over Mexico. Gutierrez funded for life.
All in good time.
So, differences for me between the PS3 version and the PC version is for some reason on the PS3 version, whenever you look back, as I am doing now, people's rear rings seem to flash, and it's really annoying.
They've gone for one of those after-sales modding kits.
Yeah, and it is a bit crazy and strange for my liking, so I'm not a big fan of that. I'll also say that in terms of the noise and the engine noise, I don't notice it so much on a PC. Maybe it's because I've got a different speaker setup on my PC compared to it just playing out the TV on my PS3. But my goodness me, the high-pitched whistle on the Mercedes engines really gets on my nerves! Because it sounds like you've got tinnitus by the end of the race. Because it's like, and it's just in the background, but it's just enough for your ears to pick it up, as your feline extras.
Actually, on that note, I mean, I'm playing my career as Marussia, and what I would say is the Ferrari engine definitely sounds different, and especially when I'm playing with a headset on like I am with you now, I will say that after about 40 minutes of play, the noise does start to bother me somewhat. Massa has stopped out on track. Thanks for that, Massa. You complete gibbon. And now he's cutting me off. Right, that's it. This is personal now.
His car had pulled over.
He sort of rolled to a stop on the left-hand side of the exit of turn 4. And then, as I went to the right to go past him, he sort of started off again and impeded me. I tell you what, though, going back to this sound thing.
Yeah.
The issue I found as well is that when it starts to bother me, of course you can turn the sound off. But this is a game, even more so than the last one, I think, that's harder to play when you don't have sound on.
Yes.
Like, you need the sound. I wouldn't have expected that, but, sometimes, when I've turned it down because I'm getting a headache, it comes to me that I'm driving so much worse. And given where I'm starting from, that's really not desirable.
And one of the things, having now just bashed the sound, that I really do like about the sound is how it sounds when you're getting to you're over revving and you need to change gear.
That said, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, the sound recording is excellent. I just think the sound they've recorded has some unintended side effects.
Yeah. And still, if you're like my brother-in-law and find Hoovers the most sedate things in the world to go to sleep on, then do not play this game while you're driving, because you will be in trubs.
Well, I wish I could tell you how my setup feels, but I've got no idea.
Tell you what, this is going back to the Lotus, having just spoilt myself in a Mercedes. On the PS3 version, this feels like a proper chubber.
It's not responsive at all, is it? I mean, actually, the Marussia is far more responsive in the corners than this, and that surprises me, to be honest. I really thought. I mean, presumably the difference is speed alone, but the fact that this has got a Renault power plant and Marussia has a Ferrari, you'd sort of expect the engine responsiveness to go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
But it handles like a complete dog, doesn't it? And we seem to gravitate towards cars that handle terribly.
Yeah, and show off our balls to the wall driving skill a little bit better than normal.
Well, yeah, balls are definitely involved. Let's put it that way.
I'm a bit worried by that. I'm a second faster than Rosberg.
Oh, yeah, where has that come from?
I don't know.
Because I'm a second down on him.
Skidding around like I need some diapers. So if I've got enough fuel to actually get back. I wonder if you can actually conk out of fuel on this one instead of coasting around on 0.
That would be interesting, but I'm guessing not. Something actually I wanted to correct with you, you've just reminded me. Unintentionally, of course. The power units. In my career mode, there are only 5 engines.
Oh, there are?
And they have a wear rating.
Ooh.
And you can change your engine in any session, but you forfeit the remainder of the session, and you can take a grid drop.
Oh, great.
So that adds a new element, although of course actually wearing out your engine means just driving like a complete tool. But fortunately, I've been able to test that out for you.
And how's it gone?
Not well. It's incredibly frustrating to find, like, on your first race, because I'm relatively new to the world of manual shifting. I know I did it in the second half of last season, but I'm very lazy. No one should ever underestimate how lazy I am, and if I can avoid shifting with my own fingers, then I will take that liberty. Just like I took a liberty with the line through that corner. Segue. And yeah, to find that you're burning through your engine early on, and that you start to think tactically already at a very early stage, thinking, look, I need to either learn to drive better, which I've been trying to do for 3 years and it hasn't got me anywhere, or you need to begin thinking about taking your penalties tactically. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to be taking a point hit at Double Dabby. So maybe worth taking a hit the race before, or a few races before, and then just setting an engine aside that's only got sort of 50% wear. Because, I mean, if you drive like me, you're going to wear through your engines. It's just the end of, you know. But it's nice actually, because, oh dear, I'm going to run out of fuel. And I was faster on this lap as well. But we need to turn difficulty up.
Yeah, we do.
We're playing on the same difficulty level as last year, by the way.
Just shows how amazingly better we are.
Well, how amazingly better the car is.
Yeah, there's that too.
Although, you know, driving it at the moment, it doesn't say much. I mean, if I had to go off my gut, I would say this feels much better than the Caterham did last year, but it doesn't feel good. Like, good is not a word I would use. I'm up 3/10, which is enough to get me third, but it's not going to happen this time because I need to come in for fuel. Absolutely need to come in for fuel.
I wonder if we're able to turn the difficulty up in between races then.
You can turn it up in between races, but not in between sessions.
Okay.
So someone may unexpectedly now have to sit there and watch you win something.
Oh god.
So make sure you put a warning in at the start.
Warning may contain
driving traces of success.
Yeah. A couple of nuts on the side. Now I've just seen the guys walk out in the garage. Where are you? I want to see you come into the pits. There you are. Hello.
Hello. Pip pip. Oh god.
Doffs my cap to you, sir.
The only thing that ruins this car is that giant Venezuela thing on the back, on the dildo nose. And the reason it ruins it, because I like Venezuela, beautiful country, but it just means Pastor Maldonado's cheap involvement in Formula One continues.
You're not a pasta fan.
No, I'm not. Does it come across?
Only slightly. Only slightly. No, I've only got 4 minutes. Let's go out.
Well, the thing is, it's not that I'm totally against pay drivers. I used to have a lot of fondness for Pedro Diniz. It's not like I'm some kind of arsehole. It's just Pastor Maldonado is no Pedro Diniz. And I don't know.
Oh, hello.
Sorry, I thought I'd come say hello.
Ghosted for me for a second as she was gently ramming that dildo where the sun didn't shine. Yeah, I think, in fact, what you should do actually is get you some on-screen time.
Are you sure? Because this setup isn't great and my lines through the corners are just awful.
That's okay. We can follow. And lol. You beat us out, but that's fine. Oh, you've just overtaken yourself.
My evil twin.
Your evil Esteben.
He is a replica. If you've ever seen him, he's got the personality of a robot replica as well.
That is very true. And now we've added massive geek glasses, may I add, as well. Last time I saw him through a helmet.
It seems to have improved his driving, though.
Yeah. Although, when you've got Adrian Sutil who appears to have just slept the entire season.
Well, I think he's still a bit groggy from going into hibernation that year.
Yeah, although he came out and was all like, ta-da! And it was all like, quick, back down the back of the grid. You need to be anonymous. He's trying to go for Pierre Carlo Ginzani's record of trying to have as many Grand Prix without ever finishing on a podium. I think he's done it, actually.
I used to really rate Sutil.
Yeah.
I mean, when he was at Force India, before he punched a nightclub owner, whoever else it was he punched, I thought the guy had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Where are you?
I was driving a different corner to the corner that came.
Oh, okay.
I am now right behind.
You found your own corner. That's good. I'm pleased for you.
Yeah, not quite sure what's happened with Sutil. It's made anonymous Sauber year. I don't think he'll be about for 2015.
Well, no one's told him that because he's absolutely certain that he's going to be getting in people's way, much like Vern is to me right now.
Oh, I can see the back end of that as I skid round every corner going. What's going on?
I can hear the tyre squeal coming down your microphone.
Oh, crikey.
Get out of my way, Frenchie.
Either that or I've just trapped some poor person in a basement. Is there another car there as well?
Yeah, of course there is. Chilton, ruining my lap again.
Oh, Maximiliano. Or Maximiniano, rather, since he doesn't want to pay his millions to people to drive. Do you think we'll see Chilton back another year?
Given what's happened to Bianchi, yes.
Yeah.
Only because there's benefit to consistency. Even if that consistency is sort of a bit sloppy, like Blancmange.
Yep, second retirement in Russia, isn't it?
Yeah, but to be honest, that track is so dull that I would have retired.
Oh, it is. Even on this game, it's dull.
I would have permanently retired. I would have drawn my old age pension of £43, 2p and a packet of Smarties and lived the life of my dreams. Well, that's not encouraging. He's actually getting away from me, so my setups doesn't work. I need to get round ahead of him because I cannot have another hot lap screwed. I lost a second and a half because of him and Vern screwing me over.
I don't think I'm going to get across the line. 2, 1, 0. Oh, I've done it! Bang on the zeros.
Unbelievable.
That is Jim Jans.
So now I just need to string it together like I'm not a complete idiot. Purple sector 1. That's a good start. And very unfamiliar.
I've got a nice big red. Oh, no, there's a barrier.
It is very inconsiderate to leave those around all the time. I'm glad to see F1 doing its bit to get rid of them. It's basically like fly tipping. What you need to do is just make everything into a giant car park. I just got a message that you've retired from the race.
Yeah, I've just had to quit out from the sesh. I'm going to try and... There we go, we're on you now.
Oh, God. Thanks for that. See, I've already balls that corner.
I forgot to change my tyres. I think that's why I had no grip and was spearing off everywhere. We had this from a comment from someone last year and I've still not learned.
Change your tyres, Simon. It's like changing your socks.
That's true, considering I've got socks that are in blue and say Tuesday on.
Oh, where did I end up? Still 7th. God damn it.
Oh, Lulu lost out by 23 thousandths. Soz about that.
It's all right. It's because I'm blaming you though, because it's when you jumped on board with me and I ballsed up the corner. It's the pressure. I can't handle the pressure.
Very 2x2.
I'm not happy with the setup. Not really.
Hide it. No one will know.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm covering it up. The default setups are stupid.
Damn it.
We can just edit the bits out where I said I was setting up my own car.
Mm-hmm. Carefully muted.
So, I'm 1.1 seconds down on you.
Mm-hmm.
Or just under.
You had time to gain though, didn't you?
Yeah, just not enough. To be honest with you, I think I could have... Fourth would have been the best I could have hoped for. So it's business as usual. I don't know what happened in the preseason. Were you just coasting round on the preseason?
No.
To a false sense of security.
That one lap, I think, is a lap far too better than what I'm normally doing.
Oh, I'm getting a round of applause, though.
Hey! Well, a Lotus in the top 10. I think you need a fucking standing ovation, mate.
And it's not driven by a mad Venezuelan.
Wow! Yeah, my issue with Pastor, apart from the fact that he spelt pasta wrong, is that he has no regard for anyone else out on track and just drives. You know, when just someone comes into the car, you just want to look at him and just go, cock. Although he does make for some good crazy headlines, for stupid action, so long as he's not dangerous to the point where he hurts someone, which I think he has been sometimes. He keeps me amused, and it's at least there's a character in the grid, even if he is at all. He's
there for comic relief and comic relief alone. That's it, as far as I'm concerned. What lap are you pitting on?
I reckon 7 for me.
I'm gonna go...
Oh, you can't do reverse strateg, can you?
I can, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, just let me.
7. Oh, so can I?
I'm going to go... I'm going to pit in lap 8 because the options last anyway. I'm going to save my fuel for my last stint because it's come to my attention that you gain or lose points based on how you finish at the end, not at the start.
What?
I know. To me, that's backwards. But what the hell? I'm the guy who suggested reverse pensions. Did I never tell you about this idea? I know it's not F1 related. No, my idea was, right, that people say, oh, there's not enough money to pay for pensions because too many people are living old and going on forever and ever, and it costs a lot of money because of inflation. And I said, well, what you need to do is take the value of a pension as it is in today's value. So you give away all the inflation, that doesn't matter. And you say to kids coming out of university, here, you can have your pension, and when it runs out, you go back into work. And then it's your problem, right? And the benefit of that is it's going to encourage you to save, that's for sure, or work until you're dead, which is what the government wants anyway. And, get this, what are you going to spend your money on when you're old? Like, you know, this is gap year money written all over it.
Incontinence pads.
Yeah, unless they're gold-lined incontinence pads. I mean, come on. You just take your pension early and then you live off chips. Lots and lots and lots of chips.
I am happy with lots of chips. I'm watching you cutting through the field like a pro.
Well, if that's a pro, I'm very scared for the future of the sport.
7th to 2nd, no?
Yeah, well, it's funny. They all took very strange lines through the first corner that allowed me through. But this isn't going to last, and look at you blasting away from me there on your shiny tyres. Are you on contra strategy as well?
No.
I thought I saw a flash of orange upon thine tyre wall.
No, upon thine tyre wall is something pure white trash. Ooh.
There's something pure white trash in the cockpit looking at that line through the corner.
I ain't got no time for apexes. What the hell either? What the fuck? Suddenly it all falls apart now that I can see a 1 next to the name. My other thing as well is that whenever you hit first gear, my car just wants to spin round.
Yeah.
And that's something throughout everything. But it's quite good if you've completely overshot a corner because you just go into first gear and then it just seems to spin the car back round the right way. And you're like, choo.
Yeah, the car seems to rotate on the spot quite a lot if you're too frisky on the old power.
Yeah. And I am quite frisky with my right foot.
Well, you're a frisky individual. It's common knowledge. I don't think so, Lewis. I don't think so.
Don't forget, he rises still, but only when he feels like it.
Oh yeah, only when Nicole's rubbed his tummy and told him that he's a very special boy.
Yes.
Which, you know, don't we all need from time to time?
Nicole rubbing my tummy. I don't think so.
Well, you know, speak for yourself, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what was that?
That was me trying a little bit of rally.
Don't think we've got the wheels for it.
I haven't. I don't know what's going on with. It's like the tyres aren't getting any temperature, so I just skid everywhere.
I actually had that in my career mode, you know. That apparently I wasn't driving correctly and my tyres started to go cold.
Us not driving correctly? Whatever do you mean?
Well, I went out on a practice session, and my first 3 or 4 laps, the tyres didn't warm up properly, and the like it's happening now. My front right tyre has a tinge of blue to it, and the race engineer kept saying to me, "What was it? I don't know if he said that I had to weave or that I had to take a different line or something, but he just said you need to get more temperature in your tyres." And I was on the primes, so I thought maybe the options would have activated a bit better. But it's happening now, right as I speak. My front left tyre is really hot. My rear right tyre is really cold. We didn't notice that on launch day, did we?
No.
But what's your tyre temperatures looking like?
They look okay. It's just, I mean, it's starting to come to me now, but it didn't feel.
My brakes are cold as well.
Yeah, mine are kind of like bluey green. Maybe I was just driving like a ninny.
I'm really hoping to see if they've actually implemented this the way it appears at first. I'm very interested to see them expand on it in the next game. Because I really do think your individual driving style should make a difference to your tyre wear.
Yeah.
It should. Even though I know that inevitably means I will shred my tyres to pieces.
Well, I mean, I do most of my sim racing on R Factor. And I'm notorious for just having terrible tyre wear because I hacksaw my wheel. Oh, not my wheel, my controller pad around everywhere. God.
You keep catching the curb, don't you? And it throws you off.
Yeah.
Is it the curb that's throwing you off? I can't tell. It just looks like you're touching the curb and then...
It pushes me out a little bit wide, and then because I don't seem to have... I'm either taking the corner too fast, or it just feels like I was able to get through there when I played this earlier. Maybe it's because I wasn't in a Lotus, that might be why.
To be fair, I had that with my... jumping back into my Marussia, that I was taking corners wrong because I was braking too early. So, yeah, odd. But it does at least make the virtual F1 a bit more interesting while we talk about the real F1s.
Yeah.
We touched on some issues last time, but we were both sleepy and I was a bit drunk, and we didn't really get into it too much.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I want to correct, to some degree, my Fernando Alonso comment, because I stand by it, but I don't think I explained the logic behind it very well. I mean, I still firmly believe he's the best driver on the grid today.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, I don't see why Mercedes would take him, given that his career is, you know, objectively going to be shorter than Lewis's or Nico's.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Lewis and Nico, and they're good enough and they're doing the job. So, if you're winning championships anyway, why are you going to take on board someone who's got less years left on the clock and is just going to win you championships maybe a race earlier? And it's a guy as well that needs a team built around him, which Mercedes so far hasn't been.
Yeah, I agree with some of that. Yeah, so
why, I wasn't saying that Alonso was a bad purchase per se. It's just that I can't see. He wants to go to Mercedes, and I can't see what's in it for them to take him. Because it means letting a strong driver go somewhere else.
how very Perez of you.
You've still got DRS.
I know.
I'm going to take you on this corner, just so you know.
Okay, do it.
Oof.
Oh,
And you have. I did an eco. I locked it going into the corner. Oh well, at least we're actually still racing each other in this season.
yeah. I say conscious that you're there. I was like, no.
I left you room.
Okay, I'm going to chop off Fernando as I light up all the tyres. I still think that Alonso is going to be potentially can be around for as long as his motivation stands, and his motivation I don't think has got much more time left with it if he stays at Ferrari. Oh, someone's gone off, yellow flag.
Yeah, I just saw the thing. I like the screens on the steering wheel, giving you all the warnings and letting you know when you're pit limited. That's a nice touch. It would make more sense for McLaren to take him, but
how much bad blood is there from last time, I wonder?
Exactly, and he can't be sure they're going to win. Whereas Jensen's doing what's asked of him. He's got a great relationship with Honda, and if they were going to get rid of him, I can't believe there's not going to be some pressure to take a Japanese driver.
Kamui, come on.
I think Kamuri's career is done, I'm afraid, mate.
Yeah, I agree, but I wished he wasn't.
since he went rogue in Russia.
Went rogue in Russia?
Yeah, did you not? Was it Russia? Yeah, he parked the car and he told BBC News that he was told to park the car to save the parts because the team didn't have enough money. Yep, and the team came out and said, don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I didn't know that, sorry.
Controversial. I don't think the team's in as bad a financial position as reports are saying. That's my first comment on that. But I can believe that they need to save wear, especially on the engine.
Yeah, because that's the biggest expense, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know why the team are so. Oh, excuse me.
Well,
I don't know why the team are so quick to come out and deny that, because you used to have teams in the 90s that would put their cars out on wet weather tyres to purposely fail to qualify under the 107% rule because they couldn't afford to make it to the end of the season without doing so. And no one complained, really. I mean, it didn't affect the race because these were teams that were not super competitive, and Caterham falls sadly into that category.
Yeah. And of course their GP2 team they've now just sold as well. So they have that is now going to become a status GP team for next year, who currently already run in GP3. So they're losing their kind of throughway for some drivers, and I suppose if they're just going to go for let's pick a pay driver left, right and centre, it doesn't really matter so much.
I think, to be honest, they're going to be Forza Rossa next year, and we're not gaining one of those extra teams.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good shot.
So, yeah, my guess is that they'll be looking to different areas to source their drivers. Possibly taking Ferrari young drivers because Ferrari power. So my guess would be that, to be honest with you, that they'll become part of this Ferrari family of teams that we're seeing them build up. I mean, I think it's a pretty clear statement of intent from Ferrari, to be honest, that they are going to be winning championships. There's no which way about it.
Well, I suppose if they've got all 24 cars on the grid as Ferrari branded in some way or another, they've got to win something.
Yeah, I mean, the main team is going to be backed up by Sauber, Marussia, Haas, Forza Rossa, and there's another Ferrari team, isn't there?
Nope.
Oh no, Toro Rosso switched to Renault, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
I bet they're regretting that right now.
Well, it depends, because if Red Bull and Toro Rosso become like Renault only, then they get full works on everything that's out there. Lotus have jumped ship. Suddenly everyone is kind of, you don't have to spread your efforts, and then they can tailor an engine around exactly what Red Bull want.
Yeah, which would be concerning if it weren't for the fact that I don't think Red Bull has retained a lot of its capacity to make a championship winning car.
No, you've always got that ebb and flow, haven't you? And I think a lot of their flow has flopped back out to other places now.
Their flow has ebbed.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of F1 that you get these rise and falls in team performance.
Yeah.
But I think we're entering the Mercedes era for a little bit. But following on from that, I think we're going to be looking at towards the end of the decade and the start of the next decade, rise for Ferrari, a big one. McLaren are a team that I'm struggling to see recover.
They've been... When was the last time that McLaren were truly dominant? Like, as in, I have all the bits together to make a proper championship shout. Because you could argue maybe 2010. 2012, I suppose, at the end of that, they had the best car before they decided to go down this new route. I can see them being in the wilderness for a good few years, a bit like how Williams have been.
Yeah. You lose your way, and it can take you a very long time to catch back up. Mm-hmm. And I mean, normally I wouldn't be so concerned, because if any team's shown that they've got the ability to develop a car throughout a season, it's McLaren. If you remember how bad the car was in, was it 05 with Montoya?
Yeah.
And they turned that around massively, and then...
Oh, it was 04, wasn't it, when they came along, and it was Coulthard and Montoya, and they were like 16th on the grid, and then he won the last race of the year, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So, they've definitely got the capacity. You're out in third.
Yeah. Rosberg is right up my chuffer, though.
I think you're going to beat me. You're going to leapfrog me in the pit stops.
I don't know, mate.
No, you are. You're just coming around the corner, aren't you?
Not yet. I am now.
Oh, well, Bottas then. Oh, but he'll be coming into the pits. Yeah, he is. I can see him at the end of the pit lane. Closing the door, baby.
Oh dear.
I'm surprised because I had a very terrible in-lap.
UANA Windows. Oh dear, what was that? I'm going on Rosberg on you. Suddenly can't drive wheel to wheel at all.
Well, it's because we're not used to these cars, because I mean we were driving much more confidently wheel to wheel during the pre-season races that we did. Like, I thought that was pretty good. Oh, that's not that line then. And now it's just the lack of familiarity with the car. I mean, I still feel very edgy driving this thing because I've not got used to how it's going to perform when I ask it to do something.
Yeah. And I tell you what, having all of the cars now have 8 gears has put me off probably for the first time in these modern collection of F1 games. I know certain gears for certain corners because that's how it's been for games and games and games, and it's not necessarily on this one. So I think that double left I've always taken in 4th gear in previous games, and now I'm having to drip down to 3rd in heavier car, and that's a new one for me.
Also, I don't know if this is something Cody's have done or it's just something I'm inferring from nothing, but the handling of the car changes over time. I don't know if that's the fuel load coming off, but the steering through treacle problem seems to get better over time. And it could be a cold tyre issue, I don't know. What's interesting is my brakes are still cold, and my front tyres are looking a little bit chilled. Yeah, not in a sort of mellow Sunday afternoon with Lionel Richie kind of way, but in a cold sort of way.
Would the first word you'd say to Lionel Richie on a chilled Sunday afternoon be, hello?
Is it tea you're looking for? Well, that was a very sexy purple first sector. And this, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, is the first time Contra strategy has worked okay for me. Because now I'm on the faster tyre, I've got an extra lap's worth of fuel that I can turn up to at any point. Smarty pants.
Defo, this is working out well for the Esteben.
Until we turn the difficulty up next race, and then that completely knackers it. What I don't understand is how I did so badly last time. And we're on the same difficulty, and now it's...
We're brand new to the game, aren't we?
Yeah, that's true, and I had been on the beer.
We've had a day... Oh my god, what line was that, Smithy? So we've now actually had a day
to adjust.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. I'm taking it back to real motorsport for a minute.
Okay.
Because we're talking about Status taking over the GP2 team.
Yeah.
I've just heard that British F3 is not going to run this year.
Oh wow.
They were going to merge with a smaller German F3 series, but the smaller teams in there weren't happy about it for obvious reason. Is, in your opinion, motorsport in a bit of a crisis?
Crisis, no, but if it continues, yes.
It's, because the point I'm raising with you, I suppose, is that what you have is a situation where there is not a clearly defined path up to Formula One. Formula One, unless you're driving a Caterham, is orders of magnitude higher in performance than the feeder categories that serve it. And the cost in terms of running a team even in the lower series is vast. Sponsorship's drying up. I've just got a lot of concerns for the future, to be honest with you. If you take Status as an example, they've peaked now. They've absolutely peaked. I think the days of a team running in F3 or GP3, GP2, and then coming up to F1 are over.
Yeah. That I agree with.
Marussia, which is Manor Motorsport, will be the last example for the foreseeable future.
And even now, Manor's gone underneath, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's still their facilities, but yeah, the ownership has changed hands.
Mossberg? No. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And what you're seeing is like Hilmer down in GP2, GP3 or whatever. Which ones they're? I think they're in both, aren't they? They're essentially, I'm pretending to be Force India because they've got the same colours, the same things, and everything like that. But I'd imagine if one was going under, they'd quite quickly disentangle themselves and not become a full outfit. And yeah, I don't think it's bad that there is no defined route up to F1 necessarily. What I will say is that people coming up it's back to what we were saying before, people coming up at a ridiculous age from little experience, I think is what to me makes the problem. I think you should have. It doesn't matter what age you are. I think you should have had X amount of experience doing something before you can come up through the series. And how you do that experience, I don't think should matter necessarily. Some races this year, I'd say the GP2 cars, the pole position sometimes has been faster than the Caterhams and the Marussias. Hungary, I think there was only about 2 seconds difference between them, like GP2 and GP1. F1. So I think GP2 is well positioned, but if you continuously take things away from much lower down the road formulas where the cars are really in comparison not up to scratch with the F1 stuff, and then those people do well, it then really does make a mockery of what do you have as a feeder series, what does a series really represent, and if you aren't getting primetime viewing and your money back from having people reach the big time, what really are you racing for?
Exactly the point I was making, to be honest with you. I mean, you've got to look at it this way, that F1 is the attractive formula, obviously from a business standpoint, but it does mean in order to support it, you've got to vicariously support it by supporting drivers in lower formulas and stuff, and very few of the big money sponsors have got an interest in doing that, to be honest, because it doesn't have a lot of exposure. And the crisis will spread to F1. It just will, on the basis that, as you correctly point out, that you're going to struggle at some point to find decent drivers if there's not an excellent way to develop them. You're also going to find that what you need to do if you want to enter F1 really is buy an established F1 team. So you're going to see this constant boom-bust cycle, I think.
Yeah.
Until something is done. And I hesitate to say the budget cap is a solve-all, because we know that it's not, and it sort of feels like it's neutering the sport. It's like chopping F1's balls off. That's never been what it's been about. But at the same time, I can't see how it works, because you've got teams like Marussia, who were Manor, who were very successful in the lower formula, who've been here 5 years now, and have been unable to shift from the back of the grid. And they've been unable to establish themselves. I still don't consider them an F1 team, to be honest with you. I've got a lot of affection for them, but I don't consider any of them an F1 team.
F1 1.5.
Yeah, exactly. I consider them to be a class of their own, somewhere between GP2 and F1.
Yeah. And you hear it when the races are being called. They're not even considered to be with the rest of the other teams, and they're still called the back of the grid teams and the battle at the back, or the battle between Caterham and Marussia, and when HRT were about, they were there too. And even when you go back to when like Jordan were Midland and Spiker and they were on their last legs and everything, at least they were vaguely clipping around the back of everywhere else. I mean, they've got closer, but yeah, it is a difficult one.
I mean, because you've got to remember that, you know, HRT as well was a team that on paper, yeah, it had everything it should have needed to be successful. They've been successful at a lower formula. They had guys with motorsport experience, and they were well positioned to join. And then if you remember how just catastrophic their launch was, given that they didn't even have the pressure of building their own chassis, which, to be fair, was probably part of the problem. Although, you know, Virgin built their own chassis, but tried to do it on the cheap by using only computational fluid dynamics.
Yeah.
And then Team Lotus were the only ones that built their car using a wind tunnel conventionally themselves.
Yeah.
And all three of them had everything they needed, in theory, to be successful, and not one of them has. Not a single one.
No, but it's not new either. I remember Simtech came up from lower categories. 40 Course were amazingly successful in Formula 3 before they came to Formula 1 and things like that. And it's always been that way, but there's less coming up and staying now. It's the same few teams that stick there or being bought out and replaced. The last team that you can really say that has come in and stayed in whatever guise you would say is Stewart. which then became Jaguar, which then became Red Bull. And that's the last team that has been set up from scratch that is still going today.
That's very true.
And that's 97. And you think 20 years without an established F1 team coming in and being competitive and staying? That's quite scary.
I mean, what scares me as well is that, these back of the grid teams were built using the best manpower that the lower categories had to offer. And if you look at influential and successful senior figures in F1, they haven't changed for 20 years. We're still, only recently did Ross Brawn step away, and I'm pretty sure he'll be back, but you're still talking about Paddy Lowe, who was at, was it Benetton way back? You're still talking about, I suppose Christian Horner is an example of someone who came from lower formulae and then did really, really well, but that's probably down to the team that was assembled for him, not by him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're still talking about the same designers for the most part that you're talking about decades ago. Adrian Newey, and who's the guy at Ferrari still?
Oh
God, Stepney.
Yeah, Nigel. Yeah.
Nigel Stepney, still kicking about. And if you're really into your F1 and everything, I'd just go to the Wikipedia pages of all the front-running and mid-pack teams and have a look at the personnel that they've got, and you'll see the same names you were seeing 20 years ago, maybe in a different order. Where is the new talent coming in on that side? Because you've got to have your Ron Dennis's and your Peter Saubers coming through. Christian Horner is the only team principal who's come through the ranks who's come from a lower formula and done well. I don't know where Eric Bouyer came from.
He was GP2 as well.
Oh, so maybe I'm wrong there. There's two, but what you're seeing is the team principal role increasingly being increasingly being given over to no-mark businessmen. Cyril Abbott from Caterham, and Lopez at Lotus has taken over the running of the team hands-on. He's an investment capitalist. I don't see why he's well positioned to run an F1 team other than by virtue of owning it. It's a sad indictment, as the Daily Telegraph would say.
Wow. But I feel that we've overlooked the fact you've just gone and bloody run.
I've just gone and bloody won it.
Woo, 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 woo.
I'm clapping myself.
That deserves a beer.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've drunk all mine. I put them all away on Friday night. We have to make sure we take steps to ensure that does not happen again. People don't come here to see winning. There's a million YouTube channels that show winning.
We come here to show you 21st and 22nd.
21st and 22nd with some occasionally insightful F1 discussion and often lewd double entendres and banter.
Well done. Let's see what Ford on.
Yeah, let's take come
up with the championship standings.
I will do in a minute, but first, my moment of glory that I'm going to screen capture.
Oh, I can see you in the background. Oh, you just done a yes. Look at us.
Amazables.
So, frame that, stick it on your wall.
To be fair, that's aside from that fluke one last year, that's only my third ever online win. I had one against strangers in a Sauber at Hungaroring on the last game. So yeah, I'll take it. Another notch on the bedpost. Oh, it's the Bahrain night race. That's exciting.
That'll be grand. We can do that next time.
Yeah, please do join us.
Yes. And as we settle into the cockpit for another one, thank you very much, Esteben, as ever.
Pleasure.
And thanks for watching. Please do comment, subscribe, and do all of your shenanigans. We do enjoy your comments. We love them very much. We look forward to seeing some more. And till next time. Chicka wow wow.
Amazing.